What's up, everyone? In the trenches here, and the NFL is officially on its way. The defending champions, Kansas City Chiefs, started the season off facing off against the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans look good in the first quarter, but we're going to get right into the rest of the game right after this. Give me something on David Johnson because the Texans started the game off decently well. They stopped the Chiefs in the first drive and looked like, hey, maybe the Houston Texans can pull this off in Kansas City. But David Johnson disappeared in the second quarter, and the Chiefs went out to score 17 points. And that was the story of the game. David Johnson did not appear, and the Chiefs are just so much better than it seems like going to be everyone else in the NFL this year.
Very unfortunate for David Johnson. David Johnson had an impressive game for his first time in uniform as a Houston Texan. Last night, he averaged about 7 yards a carry. If you have a running back averaging 7 yards a carry, you need to feed that guy. It's unfortunate. A few bad breaks on offense for Houston, but after a while, with that high-powered Kansas City offense, Houston was playing catch up, and I guess they felt that running the ball wasn't going to be fast enough to keep up with Kansas City.
You want to know who made the worst decision last night? It was Coach Bill O'Brien. And I don't know what type of a coach he is. It's when a guy is averaging 7 yards a carry and he just showed a glimpse of what he was a few years ago with that touchdown that he scored. The way he bounced it through the line, and he bounced it to the outside, and he just sped straight to the corner. That's impressive. I mean, that's the old David Johnson, and that is the story of the game. They just could not get that offense going. The offensive line is horrible, and the Houston Texans, thankfully, because we're Dolphin fans, are probably going to lose a few games due to Bill O'Brien's coaching. Johnny, I know you love Bill O'Brien. Tell us how you feel about the man last night.
Well, whenever you guys watch this, understand that we're recording this in the morning, and I'm having my very small cup of coffee because I'm on very limited sleep. It was a long night, a very good night, and we'll talk about it now. First and foremost, I want to say I was right, and then I want to say I was wrong. Anybody who saw our AFC West preview I said Patrick Mahomes is great. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to be a beast rookie. And the Chiefs' offensive line has to work out their kinks. I was pretty much right on all counts. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he set a stat where he was the first player in the NFL history, to ever rush for 100 yards and a season opener for a defending Super Bowl champion. First guy ever.
That's
and he
wild.
looked amazing. And I think he's gonna have a hell of a future. Mahomes is just Mahomes. I mean, amazing. Can't speak enough about him. I already have, but he's just, I mean, we're looking at 24 of 32, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he just went, he turned on the Jets and he was Mahomes be Mahomes. And like you said, in the beginning of the game, I was watching the game with a couple of buddies and everybody was like, hey, wait a minute. These guys are up on Kansas City. They're getting to Mahomes. Which this is where I was wrong. I honestly thought that David Johnson, I don't want to say it was washed, but I think I thought he was going into a bad situation. He proved last night he still has a lot in the tank. He had a hell of a game, and he would have had a better game if he had a coach. I mean, Bill O'Brien. I mean, I don't understand.
He cost. I mean, I benched David Johnson in one of my teams, but he cost me. I mean, 77 yards and a touchdown, and he only had 11 carries. Man, you give that guy 9 more carries, he's definitely over 100 yards.
The problem was that Kelly's boy, Andy Reid. Andy Reid figured it out. The first, we talked about this before we came on. The first 2 series for the Houston offense and their defense was glorious. Their defense got after Mahomes. They shut down the running game, 3 and out. Their offense came on. David Johnson looked great. Watson looked great. 7-0 Houston. Oh, damn. Then Andy Reid said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Number one, our offensive line's got to get their S together. You know what I'm talking about? We started running the ball with Hilaire. We got to give Mahomes a little bit more time. Started opening up the passing game. And even though the front four of Houston still kept getting to Hilaire, kept getting in the backfield, they opened up enough holes where they still made the offense move. And then on defense, they said, listen, David Johnson's not going to beat us, and we can't just sit back and let Deshaun Watson pick us apart. And they said, you know what? Let's just tee off on these guys. And that's what they did. They kept coming after. They ended up getting to Watson 4 times. They sacked him 4 times in that game after that first drive. And they probably could have sacked him more. He's just his capability is fantastic, which is why they didn't sack him more. But basically, the Kansas City Chiefs showed, number one, why they're the defending champs. And Andy Reid showed why he's a great all-time coach. He was down at home in the opener, and he just said, and he flipped the script on both offense and defense, and he completely and utterly outcoached Bill O'Brien. Now, that being said,
which is not saying much.
Which is not saying much. But another thing I will say is, and I said this before, I love Deshaun Watson. I was wrong about David Johnson. And there's part of the Texans that I like. I like the defensive coordinator. I like the defenses that were running. They were mixing it up in the beginning with Mahomes. But understand this. At the end of the day, I said it before and I'll say it again. Their ultimate undoing is the fact that Bill O'Brien gutted this team. And they haven't fixed the offensive line. Mr. $22 million man, Larry Tunsil, not hating because, you know, I loved him when he was a Dolphin. But at the end of the day, he's not worth $22 million. And he's still leading the league in false starts, you know, and obviously they weren't protecting Deshaun Watson, you know, so you haven't fixed your offensive line. You're not protecting your star quarterback. You got David Johnson, but you're not giving him the ball. Your defense is playing good, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a long season for the Houston Texans. I think, like I said before, under Deshaun Watson, they're going to win a few games just because he's that talented, and their front four and their defense looks like it's going to be pretty good against lesser teams. But ultimately, Bill O'Brien's going to be their undoing. And I will say the Chiefs look great, but I'm going to warn it again. When they play a team, you know, that actually has a really good coach with a good coaching scheme, you know, they're going to figure out how to attack that offensive line. And that offensive line going forward has really got to get their stuff together. They did well last night and, you know, the latter part of the game. But, you know, going forward, they're going to have to do better. And I'm going to shoot this out to my boy Alex, who was very gracious enough to have me over last night. And we were talking fantasy. We were talking about everything. And let me tell you something. It's very hard to watch a game when, you know, we're sitting around talking and watching the game. And every time David Johnson touches the ball, you hear David Johnson. And I'm like, okay, you hear it once, then you hear it again, and you hear it again. And after a while, it becomes annoying. But then you find yourself saying, David Johnson. So it was a really weird night for me to watch that game. But it was a lot of fun. Thank you, Alex. I had a great time at being over your house. We had a great time watching the game. We talked a lot of fantasy football. A lot of takes. Will Fuller actually had a very good game. Anybody who happens to have Will Fuller, coincidentally, the guy I was playing benched Will Fuller. God bless him. Will Fuller actually had a really good game. But like I said, it was a good game. Kansas City's going to have a great year, and Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, that the one shining light, and you touched on it, is a defensive coach, and that defense. That is really the only shining light, because they tried doing, like Coach said it in the preview of the Thursday Night Football, that spread offense, and we saw it from Deshaun and the Houston offense, that they're going to spread the ball out and they're going to use their speed and they're going to use Fuller and they're going to let Deshaun Watson try to take over the game. But Coach, tell me something about this defensive coach. What did you see in that defense? Do you think that, and more importantly, do you think that defense is good enough to carry them to get a few wins? And try to compete for a wildcard spot, try to get back into the playoffs. I don't see it happening unless they use David Johnson. Like I predicted on the preview, I said if the Houston Texans could run the ball with David Johnson, and they did run the ball with David Johnson, but they just forgot that he was part of the team, and I don't know what happened there. But what do you see in this defense? Are they good enough, Johnny?
Coach, one second. Before Coach goes, let me just go on record to say, when it comes to David Johnson, I was wrong and you were right. Doesn't happen very often, but I was wrong and you were right. So I will give you full on credit for that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Coach, let's get. What do you see in this defense? What positive do you see for the Houston Texan fans out there? Because it's hard for me to find one other than David Johnson after that performance last night.
Well, first off, Coach, shout out to you for David Johnson. That was a great call because I was kind of questioning his ability, and basically because of the Houston offensive line. But that Houston Texans defense, Coach Anthony Weaver, he's a great coach. He got drafted in 2002 by the Baltimore Ravens, so he has played some good football around some great Hall of Fame football players. He basically came to a team that was built by Marvin Lewis, a great defensive mind, and he has learned how to run that 34 type defense. Great. In the beginning, it was good, but one thing what you have to do as Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy evolved, you have to evolve also. Your game plan has to evolve. So a lot of times you just can't sit back in zones. Not Kaepernick. Kansas City quarterback,
Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes will kill you.
Have more coffee. Look what have more coffee.
Yeah,
it's really,
yeah,
really helps.
yeah,
We're doing this too early in the morning.
I'm trying to get it together, but Mahomes will kill you if you sit back and just sit back in zones and allow him to see a defense. You have to bring heat on him. It has to be some type of hybrid safety type pressure that needs to come. Some fast guys need to get to Mahomes real quick, but Houston's defense can possibly adjust, I think, because of a lack of a preseason that possibly that's why they look so rusty. I believe Houston is going to be competitive in this AFC South.
Yeah, I mean, with that defense and with the playmakers I have, they're going to win a few games, and they're going to be a good team. I don't know if they're in the playoffs. From what I saw last night, I don't think it's enough to get back to the playoffs for Houston. But since you are an Andy Reid guy and you know that offense and you are coach, how do you stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Johnny did touch on you have to put pressure. The offensive line is suspect at best sometimes. So you do have to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. But is there an answer to this Chiefs team with the addition of Clyde? Or do you just have to keep him off the field completely? How do you beat this Chiefs team?
I think what you have to do is take a page from Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to Kansas City. You have to get that inside rush going in order to disrupt the quarterback. The fastest way to the quarterback is through those defensive tackles, and if you can get that pressure on the inside, you can disrupt anybody's offense, especially a fast timing offense like Kansas City. That can be done. So teams, if you want to disrupt an offense, just look at Steve Spagnuolo and what his defense did with the Chiefs last night to Houston, and that's how you can stop the Kansas City Chiefs.
I love it. Johnny, before we get out of here, do you have anything to add for this Chiefs team or the first Thursday night football game of the year?
I thought it was a great thing to see that everybody finally came together and so far obviously there's been nothing negative about it. I'm sure. I mean, I can't wait to see like the TV numbers have to be through the roof. I think it's great. A lot of people follow me on Twitter. We talk a lot of local Dolphin fans, NFL fans. I mean, we've been talking football for months now, and it's finally here. Hopefully, I really, really hope. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, even though the numbers are down and things look like they might be getting a little better, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and we still have to, be careful, be safe and be smart. By the way, I saw something last night it was great, but it cracked me up. I saw this thing on Twitter where Kermit the Frog is staring out a rainy window, and it said, "This is what Patrick Mahomes looks like trying to talk to Andy Reid," because he was wearing that.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
that face guard. Oh my god, I laughed my ass off.
Look down at his glasses.
He looked. I mean, I understand he's trying to be safe, But he, after a while, I guess between the rain and the haze, he looks so weird. And I'm like, listen, bro, you're actually hurting yourself. You're getting to the point that nobody can see your face, you know. But still, he's trying to be safe. He's trying to be safe for his players. He's trying to be safe for his organization. He's trying to make sure that football keeps going for all the fans and everything that's going on. I'm very happy that it's back. It was actually a very, very good game up until obviously, the Chiefs kind of put it, they put it away a little bit, and they put they put the pedal to the metal, man. It's like Smokey and the Bandit, floor it and let's go. And that's how the Chiefs are. They did it in the playoffs, they did it in the Super Bowl, and they did it last night. You had them down 7-0. Bye. I mean, I think it was like 31-7, like immediately. It was
the Chiefs scored 17 points in the second quarter, and that's the story of the game.
Ridiculous.
It was over.
I mean, and it was like boom, 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 done. And it wasn't like turnovers or a huge return. No. As a matter of fact, I remember their main drive that we were sitting in there, and I was telling my buddy, I'm like, look at the numbers on this drive. It was a 16-play, 91-yard, 9-minute drive. So you could talk about Patrick Mahomes and their explosive offense and Tyreek Hill and now Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it's great. These guys were on the field for 9 minutes. 16 plays, 91 yards. They marched on those on the Texans. And that's, I think, and I know I was only in the second quarter, they broke their backs. I'm like, they just literally.
That's a scary thing for defenses facing them, because you're telling me that not only are they going to be explosive, they have Tyreek Hill was nowhere to be seen.
No, nowhere.
Like one or two plays, and he looked good. Like, it's not like he looked bad. It's just that they don't have to use him. They like literally don't have to use him. They run the ball with Clyde. They're going to jam the ball down your throat, and they're going to be able to slow down or speed up games at will whenever they want. What's the answer for them? I think the only answer is that they are going to repeat, like we've said in the show.
I think, it's going to take, like Coach was talking about, it is going to take a special, talented defense and a special coached defense. I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be the Ravens or the Saints or I don't know who it's going to be. But at the end of the day, once again, I'm going to prop Coach's boy, because he's showing that Coach is right. Andy Reid is a freaking beast. Yeah. I mean, Andy Reid should start working on his Hall of Fame bust right now. Don't wait for him to win another Super Bowl. Don't wait for him to retire. Just start working on it right now. Andy Reid is an animal. Okay. And he just keeps showing. Yesterday, you could talk talent all you want, but it's not like they had nobody on the other side. They had Deshaun Watson, and that defense for the Houston Texans was pretty good. And Andy Reid just completely outcoached Bill O'Brien on offense, on defense, and he ran circles around him. And like you said, like we just said, it's not that because he has Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, he could score in 2 seconds. They held the ball for 9 minutes, 16 plays, and 91 yards. You do that to a team at any point in the game, they're done. They're done. Their back is broken. And then what happened? Like, unfortunately for you, David Johnson couldn't see the field anymore. And then, of course, this is the part that I don't understand. In the midst of everything, you're now down 31-7. You've been outcoached, and what do you do in the second half? As opposed to trying to get back in the game? Oh no! Now you want to give to David Johnson. Now you want to start giving him carries where he's getting 3 yards of carry, and you're still down 31 points. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. Bill O'Brien might have worked with Belichick, and he might have worked with Brady, and at one time maybe he was a good coach. Right now, I think the wheels are coming off, man. I really do, and I feel sad for Houston Texans fans, because I've always like, dating back to when they had Andre Johnson from Miami. I've always been a fan of that franchise and their fans, and they've ever since they got that team in 2002, they've been great with building the Reliance Stadium, everything. And I'm sorry, man, they don't deserve this. I mean, and now they got Deshaun Watson and they got JJ Watt, and I don't know. I really feel
I honestly feel most bad for JJ Watt, because he's been in the league longer than Deshaun, and like he's been a dominant force in the NFL, and he's pretty much carried that team until Deshaun showed up. He carried that team on his back. Sure. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, but DeAndre's not there anymore, and JJ Watt was on defense the most dominant player that we've seen in a long time.
Right.
But it is what it is. That is the story of Thursday night. The Chiefs are just the Super Bowl champions, and they showed it last night. And the Houston Texans, questionable coaching. They did have some positives, but at the end of the day, they Coach K. Why are you raising your hand like that? You got something, Coach?
Uh, I want to give a shout out to Frank Clark on that Kansas City Chiefs defensive line. That guy was everywhere last night. That guy balled. He truly balled last night. So shout out to Frank Clark. Hell of a game. I want to see some more of him this season. As we said, Bill O'Brien, I'm looking for a midseason firing at this point. I mean, this guy is flushing big time talent down the toilet.
Yep.
So if he can't get it together with the offense what he has, the guy needs to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and another one of their signings, which was Randall Cobb, was nowhere to be seen. I don't even know if he was on the field, to be completely honest.
He was. I saw him a few times, but I mean, Stills couldn't catch the ball. Will Fuller was pretty much the only one they had, and he actually played well. But again, Will Fuller's like he's literally hurt every year. If he stays healthy, he might become their new number one, and it might be good for Deshaun Watson to have a guy he could depend on. But I mean, that guy's literally been hurt every year, and I'm not talking about he dinged up an ankle and he missed 2 games. He misses games.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
think
tough.
the story for Houston is that they're gonna have to get a big receiver because they have a bunch of small, speedy guys.
Yeah.
And not to say that they're not talented. What I'm saying is that they're not a number one. They're not DeAndre Hopkins. They're not even Devontae Parker for that matter. And that's not me being biased. They're just not a number one receiver. And Will Fuller had a good game yesterday, and like you said, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a good receiver. But they don't have that number one guy to throw to all the time, and they don't have to. They have David Johnson run the ball because it worked in the first quarter. Listen, Bill O'Brien, if you want to save your job. With that being said, if you have not already, hit the subscribe button, like. Most importantly, we want you to comment. We want to hear your opinions. Give us all the feedback you can. Get involved with the show. I look forward to giving some more previews of every single week and reviews of some of the games and most of the games. Until then, thank you. Have a good night.
Peace.
Bye, guys.